Hello my beading friends, welcome to Misty Moon Designs. My name's Luisa. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you a super quick and easy way to thread double nylon cord through beads using a simple tool, a floss threader. You heard me right, we're going to be using a floss threader. You'll be amazed at how much time this simple tool will save you. Now before we get started, we're going to be opening up the Curated Bead Box for the month of August. We're going to spend about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll jump right into the project. Now, if you're not familiar with this box, I'll leave some information down below along with a link to the website and a coupon code in case you're interested. And if you want to skip the unboxing, I'll leave some timestamps down below as well. And don't forget that I always model my jewelry at the end of my tutorials, so please stick around for that. We'll be creating a stylish his and hers bracelet set using some of the beads from the Curated Bead Box. And by the end of this video, you'll not only know the technique, but also have a matching pair of bracelets that make a great gift for your friends, your loved ones, or for yourself. Whether you're new to jewelry making or just looking for a faster threading technique, this step-by-step guide will help you master the method in minutes. And I can't wait to show you the contents of the box and how to make these bracelets, so let's go ahead and get started. And here we have the Curated Bead Box for the month of September 2025. As you can see, the name of the box is Notes of Sepia. Interesting name. That image reminds me of Halloween because of the colors, but I'm also seeing this musical instrument and these musical note components. So that's an interesting combination. And the colors are kind of autumn-like. I'm seeing black, cinnamon, brown. And in case you don't know, Curated Bead Box is a subscription and it goes for $20 a month. But anyway, down here is a list of the contents, as you can see. And on the right are the codes for each one. So if you needed extras from the box, you could always go to their website, dollarbead.com, and use those model numbers to search for whatever item you need. So let's open it up. Look at this, we have a bookmark. And of course the metals are silver tone this month. Let me get organized and we'll take a quick peek at all the items. Here are the first 4 strands. These are all 10 millimeters in size. So if you like large beads, you're going to like this box. They usually include 10 millimeter, 8 millimeter, and 6 millimeter size beads. Let's take a look at this one. These are crackle glass beads, and the color is dark brown, and this is a 6-inch strand. And my cat just popped in to say hello. Of course, I had to remove him. I know some of you like to see his little paws, but there are times when he gets into the beads. If you're a cat owner, you know what I'm talking about. He's very sweet though, I love him, and he keeps me good company. Let's take a look at these. These are jade style glass beads, and the color is cinnamon, and this is an 8-inch strand, and this strand measures 8 inches long. I really do like this color. It's very pretty and very appropriate for fall. And here we have a strand of semi-matte glass beads. And of course the color is black, and this is a 6-inch strand. And of course if you combine black with that cinnamon color down there, you've got the perfect Halloween palette. And here we have a very interesting strand of what they call blossom spray glass beads. And they call it that because of the effect that you see on the glass. The glass is actually brown, but the blossom effect is kind of a yellow color. And this is a 6-inch strand. And by the way, there are 7 strands in this month's box. Let me get the next 3 strands. And here they are. This one measures 8 millimeters in size, and these 2 are 6 millimeters. And these are actually gemstones, so that's nice. Let's take a look at this one. These are called Jasper style glass beads, and on the label it says that it's 16 inches long, but this strand doesn't look like 16 inches. It looks more like 10 inches. On the label it does say beads and sizes may vary according to availability. In any case, there are quite a few beads here. And here we have a 16-inch strand of Dalmatian Jasper style glass beads. And this one's definitely 16 inches in length. And of course, if you follow my channel, you know that I love working with 6 millimeter size beads. It's one of my favorite sizes. And I really like this effect. It's really cool. Now this one's listed as a gemstone bead, but it doesn't say what it is. It just says white and black gemstone bead. But anyway, this strand measures between 7 and 8 inches. And I would say the majority of them are light colored, and a few of them have some black inclusions. They're still very nice. I like them. Very cool. So now let's take a look at the loose items. And here we have some round glass beads, some faceted cubes, and some metal beads. These are 8 millimeters in size. And as you can see, they're clear glass. They're actually listed as clear pressed glass beads. They're not round, they're rondelles. And there's about an ounce worth there. I like that they're transparent. And of course, they're going to go with any color scheme because they're clear. And these cubes measure 10 millimeters across. On the list of contents, it shows that I should have gotten 12 beads. I'm not sure if it's a typo or what, but anyway, even if I got 12 beads, I wouldn't have much use for them. I'd probably just make a pendant with one of these, along with some other beads, or maybe a pair of earrings. But anyways, you can see the hole is very large, so you could definitely use it with leather cord. I can see maybe using one as a focal on a leather cord bracelet. I'll have to think about it. And these spacer beads are really nice. They measure 6 millimeters in size, but to me they look a little bit smaller than 6 millimeters, just a smidgen. They're actually listed as iron spacer beads, but they are hollow inside, so they're not super heavy. And there are 40 beads total. Let me get some more items. And look at these cute charms. I love music, so these tug at my heartstrings. No pun intended. But how adorable are these? Oh my goodness. I love these. They're so cute. Let me put them on a tray. These measure 14 by 8 millimeters. Let me show you the other side. I think they're the same on both sides. It looks like they are. And of course they have a loop, so they'd make perfect earrings. And there's a total of 14. Let's take a look at these now. Of course, these are a little bit larger. They're listed as silver cleft metal charms, and these measure 25 by 10 millimeters. Let's take a look at the other side. It looks like they're flatter on this side, but I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like to me. Yeah, I think they're flatter. They're flat on this side and more rounded on this side. And of course, these have a loop as well, perfect for earrings or a charm on a bracelet. And there's a total of 14. So now let me show you the Finding Starter Kit. And I can't believe I forgot to show you this one. It's listed as an etched silver metal bookmark, and it measures 5 inches. And as you can see, it has a flower design. Actually, it's flowers and butterflies, and it's the same on both sides. And it has that nice big loop. Now let me go ahead and get the Finding Starter Kit. And here it is. If you're new to jewelry making, you're going to appreciate this kit because it has a lot of the basics you need to get started. In other words, you can actually complete a whole jewelry project without having to go out and buy other things you might need. Now it doesn't have everything, but it does have the basics. Let me show you. We have lobster clasps, and there's a total of 4, and as you can see, they're silver. We have some crimp beads. These are not the crimp tubes, these are round crimp beads. And by the way, all of the items in this Finding Starter Kit are silver. Each month you'll get either silver or gold. And here we have some flat head pins. These are very thick head pins, as you can see. We have some jump rings, and these measure 6 millimeters in size. And these are also very thick, very good quality. I like using them. We have some beading wire, and it's silver, as you can see. And I think it's the 7-strand beading wire, and there's about a yard's worth. We have some ear wire hooks, and there's a total of 6. So that's enough to make 3 pairs of earrings. We have some stretch cord, and it's very thick stretch cord, which means you can use it with large beads. And we have some memory wire, and I think this one's 60 millimeters in diameter and 0.6 millimeters in thickness. So as you can see, you have enough there to make bracelets, earrings, and necklaces. So now let's take a look at the whole collection before we move on to the project. So here's everything. You definitely have a lot of choices. And like I said earlier, you can either do Halloween or fall. The only thing that throws me off are the musical notes. But of course you could combine Halloween and something musical, I suppose. So anyway, now that we've taken a quick peek at the contents, let's go ahead and get started with today's project. Here are the beads for today's project. Obviously, this first one is the men's bracelet. It's a little bit over 8 inches long. The average length for a men's bracelet is usually 8 inches, but this one's slightly longer because of the size of the beads. Those are the 8 millimeter size beads. You always have to take into account the size of the beads because they take up some of the inner diameter. So as you can see, I made this one a little bit longer than that one because the focal beads are larger, but I'm not too concerned because these are going to be strung on nylon cord, and I'm going to use some silicone bead closures. I have 3 of them here, and these measure about 5 millimeters in diameter. And the reason I chose this size is because the hole in the center is pretty small. It's about 1 millimeter. That's the problem with the sliding beads. If the hole is too big, then it's not going to keep your bracelet closed. It's going to slide along the nylon cord too easily. And I got these on Amazon. This packet has all kinds of sizes ranging from 3 millimeter to 8 millimeter. And some of the holes are large and some are small. So that's something you need to look at. And unfortunately, the information on the listing isn't always correct. They actually listed the hole sizes and the bead sizes. But when I received it, I could see that those specs were incorrect. But I don't mind buying these kind of things and storing them because eventually I'll use them on other projects. And all of these beads came in the box except for a couple of them. The metal spacer beads that you see on this middle bracelet are from my own collection, and they're disc shaped and they measure 6 millimeters in size, or 6 millimeters across. And also these little tiny spacer beads at the end of this one, they did not come in the box either. They're from my own collection and they measure 4 millimeters. They're stainless steel. I would have wanted to use some of the items in the Finding Starter kit, but when I get a design in my mind or an idea of what I'm going to do, I find it hard to deviate. So we're not going to be using any of the findings from that kit, but I am going to be using some nylon cord, and this one measures 0.8 millimeters in thickness. Now, in order for my slider beads to work, I'm going to have to double up the cord, because you want the total diameter of the cord to be slightly larger than the silicone bead hole. And like I said, these measure 1 millimeters across. So 0.8 millimeter cord is going to work out really well, because that's 1.6 total, which is larger than the hole of the silicone bead. And that means it'll stay put. It won't feel loose. I hope that makes sense. And since I'm going to be doubling up the cord, I'm going to give you a little tip today that you could possibly use with your own projects. And some of you may laugh when you see this. I'm going to be using a floss threader. You can get these on Amazon as well, very cheap. I think it was $5 for a pack of 25. And I'm going to show you how to use it in just a few moments. Here's one of them. As you can see, it's pretty thin and flexible, so it's going to go through the beads very easily. Let's go ahead and work on the middle bracelet first. I'll remove these other two for the time being. And by the way, these are called magic rods. I sell these in my Etsy store. They measure 12 inches in length, and I like to use them to arrange my bead patterns. But the nice thing about these rods is that you can add stoppers at the ends to help bring the beads in close, so you can get accurate measurements. If you're interested in these rods, I'll leave a link to my Etsy store down below in the description section. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut myself a 30-inch piece of cord. Let me go ahead and measure it out. 12, 24, and another 6. And now I'm going to slide my floss thread on like this. As you can see, it's in the center of the cord. I'm going to bring my ends together and make a knot at the end. Just a regular overhand knot. Let me pull each tail to get it nice and tight. So there's my knot. And at this end I have my floss threader. If you had braces when you were young, you'd know about these. So now before I offload from the rod, I need to add a decorative bead to this end. And it's going to be a smaller bead, one of the 4 millimeter beads from my own collection. So what you want to do is you want to pull on this end to straighten out your cord. And now I'm going to slide it right onto the cord, just like that. See how easy that was? And I didn't even have to burn my ends to stiffen them up or anything. Now, if you don't have these beads, you can always use one of those. That would be okay too. The next thing I'm going to do is to slide on one of my silicone beads. And again, you want to pull on the tail to straighten your cord, just like this, and then slide the bead down. It's very quick and easy to use this method. Now the next thing we're going to do before we load the beads is to create a knot here at about 2.5 to 3 inches from this knot. I don't like my tails too long, but you want them long enough so you can grab them to tighten up the bracelet. I'm going to measure about 2 3/4, I think, approximately where that bead is. So let me go ahead and do that now. I'm just doing an overhand knot. Let me just double check. That's about right. And I'm going to pull on each end to tighten it up. As you can see, that's about 2 3/4. And now we're ready to slide these beads on. I'm going to hold onto the rod at this end, carefully slide the stopper off. And now I'm going to grab my beads and slide them on. As you can see, I'm able to grab several at a time. And I just simply slide them onto my cord. Just like that. The reason I'm able to grab several at a time is because the rods hold the beads in alignment, so you don't have to go searching for the hole. My cat is rubbing his face on my arm right now as we speak. He's to the left of me, so you may see a paw. I'm not sure. Now some of the holes are tight, but they still go through pretty easily. And you don't want this too tight either. You don't want it too stiff. You want it kind of fluid. So you need to keep that in mind as you slide your beads on. So let me keep going. Okay, as you can see, all my beads are on, and I did arrange them a little bit so that it's not too tight. You want to make sure it's fluid like that. So now I'm going to create a knot at this end, and again, it's an overhand knot. Nothing special. Let me slide it down so it's up against the bead. And you do want to pull on the ends to tighten it up. So that part's done. And here comes the good part now. I'm going to slide it through the silicone bead in the opposite direction of where the tail is. So I'm going to go this way. Pull my cord through. And I can tell there's quite a bit of resistance there, so that's good. Let me just pull both ends. See how nicely that went through? And now all we need to do is add a decorative bead, just like this one here. And now I'm going to create my knot, and I want it at the same distance as this one. Although you really don't have to, guys, it's not that important really. You can have slightly different lengths if you want. So let me just make sure I get it right in the same place. In other words, don't stress about it, okay? Let me slide it down a little bit. That looks about right. And again, I'm pulling on each of these ends. And there you go. How quick and easy was that? So now we just need to trim off the ends and melt them, and that's the only melting we're going to do today. So I'm going to snip off, leaving about, I would say 2 to 3 millimeters, something like that. Let me just bring them in closer so I can melt them both at the same time. So this one's done. And now let me do the other one. And there you go. Let me put it on. And it fits just right, as you can see. Now my wrists are small, so if you're going to do the same bead pattern as me, you may need to change the number of beads. But I think this bracelet, including the knots and the sliding bead, measures about 6.5 to 6 3/4 inches in length. But I'm super happy with this bracelet. It's really, really cute. I hope you like it as well. I like all the different colored glass beads. Now I didn't go over each one of them because I did that during the unboxing at the beginning of the video, but the 5 in the center are 10 millimeters in size, and these 2 are 8 millimeters, and then the rest are the 6 millimeter beads. I will list them down below in the description section, and if you clicked on the timestamps to skip the unboxing, you can always go back to get a description of each one. But anyway, since you've already seen me do this technique using this little tool here, this floss threader, I'm going to go ahead and string the other 2 bracelets. I'm going to do it the exact same way. I'm not going to repeat it again because obviously you've already seen it, but I will show you the finished product. So I'll see you in a few moments. So here are my finished bracelets, his and hers, and an extra one for those of us who like to be more adorned. But actually, since they will coordinate, even if you wear 2 and he wears 1, I would still consider it a his and hers set. And by the way, I did use more cord for the men's bracelet. I used more like 38 inches, but I would recommend that you be generous with your cord and give yourself a little extra, so you're not struggling. When I went to cut mine, it was a generous 38 inches. In other words, I wasn't that precise. The other thing that's different is that I gave it longer tails, because obviously men usually have longer fingers and bigger hands, and they need to be able to reach up with their fingers to pull on their little tails to tighten up the bracelet. And of course, if you like this design and you want to make a women's size, then you'll have a very nice stack of 3 that look really attractive together. So anyway guys, as always, I'd like to put these on and show you what they look like from a distance. Obviously this larger one's going to be super big on me, but I'll put it on anyway. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day and I'll see you next time. Bye.